Hello, YouTube, and hello, Ninth Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming, and I've got some Ninth Age tournament analysis, post-tournament analysis, review with the boys. I'm not exactly sure what we title this, but we're doing a little chat together, talking about our time going to London, Ontario, playing in the excellent Forest City Fracas. Maybe that's a spoiler, but we had an excellent time and we're going to talk about our beginning, our expectations before we were going, our journey to Canada, our time there playing in the Forest City Fracas, led by Drew Austin, and then our return back home, and maybe a little discussion on how we felt our lists did, and maybe what we would change in our lists too after we've had 5 games with them. So I'm joined with the excellent Andre Wheaties of Highborn Elf fame.
Hello, Evershade family. I'd like to give a little shout out to Charles for bringing this beautiful fireside chat together, even though none of us have a fireplace going right now. So I guess we can't call it that. But yeah, I'm glad to be here.
And we also have the young boy, Alex Meyer.
Also known as Denio. Yeah. Was really excited to go on this trip together with the boys.
It was a good time. I think we were all really excited about it.
It was like the one tournament we got to do this year, I felt, other than Buckeye, that was like a really big journey for us. It was like really the only 2-dayer that we did, right?
Yeah.
So far.
It was actually my first 2-dayer in 2022.
Yeah.
Because I only got to do the first day at Buckeye Battles. And then I had to go work.
Sir.
I know.
No worries.
So,
but you did get through the team tournament.
Yes, I did get to play in the team tournament at Buckeye with Neil, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think this was. It's funny. It really wasn't that far. Like Buckeye Battles is actually probably farther.
Definitely.
Like time wise, but it was a different country. That's gotta always changes the traveling of it. So let's go over expectations. What were we expecting as we were going into this?
I was expecting to get I want to say a large Canadian turnout, but a robust Canadian turnout, if you will. So at least like, I didn't want like, American Invades where you show up and it's like a 10-person tournament and it's like 8 Americans, 2 Canadians sort of thing. I definitely wanted to see more Canadians there because I wanted to play against some new people, especially some of those fellows above north of the border, because even though they're geographically close to us, they're not necessarily nationally close to us, got across the border and whatnot. So a little bit harder to play games against people, even if they're an hour away, if they're over the border. So it's kind of stoked to that. Wanted to play some Canadians, want to see some Canadian representation. Obviously, it's their own tournament. And I don't know. I wanted to see the venue. I always like going to stores in Canada. I've had good experiences with them. I believe the last store I was in with Alex was called Critical Hit. Loved that store. There was lots of cool iconography. They had like Game of Thrones banners. They had like Ivy and stuff. They served you tea and like the classic Hobbit like steel like cask mugs. So I almost wanted to have I want to see if the experience would be kind of on par with that. So.
Dino, expectations?
So we had, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the largest capacity tournament we've attended in Canada so far?
By far, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because previously the ones we've attended at Critical Hit and at Phoenix Hobbies and Games were pretty small by capacity standards, I felt. Like they were pretty crammed into the space.
Yes.
I don't know if they really could have fit as many people, and they were saying they could have fit even more at this space.
Yes, they were talking about that before we got there.
And we already saw that there was a pretty good turnout, and apparently there was another tournament the same day farther up in Ontario.
Yep, that's what I heard too. Like
so
on the
from Sam Howard, or excuse me, Sam Howard was running it. I think they had about 8 guys from Montreal show up. I didn't realize the geographic difference from Montreal to Toronto is like a 6 hour. It's like us
it's 6-7 hours, right? Yeah.
So the idea that if a better time slot were to come up and these two communities were to merge, there could be an enormous Ninth Age potential for a tournament in this scene. And there probably already is, and we just don't know when and where it is.
That's very true. Yeah.
If you want a Lewis and Clark adventure to find it.
We need to look out.
Well, I was very curious because before we left, it was all the information was on New Recruit, which I enjoy. I like that they use New Recruit because I think
Absolutely.
New Recruit's just awesome for tournaments.
It's the new standard.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was almost kind of surprised, but I guess I felt like the information they gave out was kind of skimpy, and like it was just like it's 4,500. There was no painting requirement. It was like 5 games over 2 days, kind of like the times, and it was like I think that was about it. Like in
What else
the
do you need?
which is all the most critical information you need to know, but at the same time, it's like didn't really have anything about scenarios or objectives, about tables, about like anything really. So I was curious to see what their tournament pack would look like, and I don't want to say I was nervous, but I was, normally like you can look over the whole pack before you even go to an event to see, oh, these are the objectives and scenarios we're going to play. Oh, we'll look at that. We're not going to have breakthrough this event or something like that. Which again, there's only 6, so it's like it's not really that big of a surprise, right? Like going into most tournaments, there's not like a ton of standard deviation. But I just thought that was like interesting going into it. But I mirror some of those expectations too of like it was interesting. It was a little bit larger, and it was a new venue that none of us had been to in Canada. Not that we've been to a whole ton of venues in Canada yet, but that we hadn't been this before. So, and I don't know about you two, but I hadn't been to Canada since like 2019 too. So it'd been like years, like literal years since being into Canada, and I have also never crossed the border with a enhanced license before. So I was kind of like a little nervous about going over with the Rivecan app, and it just ended up being extremely easy.
Effortless.
Like
when you schmooze the border guard and start shooting the crap about Warhammer.
Oh yeah.
I play Warhammer. My son is of this city. He's got Dark Angels, and Alex is out there 40K, and I'm like, I don't even speak 40K. I don't even know what's going on.
Oh yeah,
As a matter of fact, we might see your nephew this afternoon at Thursday.
Yeah, Dino you definitely worked over that guard or the border crossing agent so well because
he rolled a 20 on his persuasion.
Seriously,
not only did we pass through with no problem whatsoever, we got recommendations for breweries off
yes,
which ended up being, as we'll find out,
good suggestions. Yeah, good suggestions.
I think that's a segue.
That is a good segue. So I mean, we arrived about 2-hour journey. We left Friday afternoon. Got in.
Really smooth.
Yeah, really smooth, easy drive up through Port Huron into Sarnia. Went over to London. Found our Airbnb. We had another guy staying with us, Mr. Mike Hernandez, he only played Saturday in the tournament, and then went home to go watch a Lions game with I think his dad. But he joined us for like that Friday night and that Saturday, pretty much almost all day, and left like late Saturday night. And he had already been there for like an hour or two, I think, by the time we got there, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So we rolled in. It was almost 9 o'clock, and I feel like that's like a key time in London, Ontario, because the beer store closes at 9. But even just a lot of things start closing around like 9 o'clock. And Drew, you hadn't eaten all day.
Oh no, it was a train wreck. Oh, we got to go into. Okay, so I know what you're segueing into. So, yeah, we hadn't eaten all day. But we were thinking, you know what, boys, you got to secure the package, right? Call of Duty, the flares go out, the package drops. We got to get there. We got to get the beer skis for the bro skis. So we put on our Hobbit shoes and headed out into town to the beer store. And when we got there, like you said, it closed.
Literally minutes ago. But we saw the employee
patrons walking out.
Yeah, we saw the employees walking out.
So I was like, they're like, you guys are like, oh well, we'll go somewhere else. We'll go to like a co-op or something, just get some beers. And I was telling everybody, I'm like, look, I got to eat something. So we look up, and in the glint, the corner of our eyes, we see this old-fashioned 1990 like 4 Taco Bell sign, like the brown and like that has like the golden bell on it and it has like the little circle on the bottom. And you look inside and it's got the amusement park cups where it's like white styrofoam and like the teal and pink squiggles like straight from the 90s.
It had a
Like that was
boarded up wall too.
Yep, and that like all the furniture was that teal and pink squiggly color and stuff. Oh, it was great. I'm like, oh boys, let's like you guys are like, hey, why don't you just go there, grab some food? I'm like, you know what? It's a great idea. Went in there, got a nice El Crunch wrap. It was beautiful. That was probably the best crunch wrap I've had in like a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
Not because possibly because it was at Taco Bell, but so that was great. That held me over, and then we ventured to London Co-op, right?
Yep. And we walked there from because we found an Airbnb that was literally like 3 minutes walk from the hobby store. It was like the hobby store was on this street called Dundas, and ours was just like a block and a half away down another street, and
Super easy trip.
super easy to like walk back and forth. It was like super convenient to be able to and there were like some nice like lengthy breaks in between some of the rounds where like we could run back. That's how I was able to post all those YouTube shorts over the weekend, and it was great. But for some reason, I don't remember why we decided to start this journey. We decided to walk all the way down to the London Co-op, which was I mean probably only like a mile and a half, right?
Yeah. It was like it was 2 miles.
It was like 2 miles, so it was a pretty lengthy walk down Dundas Street towards like I think it's like the city center, and then we just like took a turn down a residential street, and then finally made our way to the London Co-op. Like it was like almost 10:30, I think, when we were getting. Yeah, it was like 10:30 because the pizza guy had wrapped up. And then like they were almost like, yeah, you guys can get beer, but like no, like they wouldn't let us start a tab or anything like that. We just had to just kind of keep swiping our card, just keep buying.
I didn't mind because the beer was magnificent.
The beer was extremely good, and we took a lot home with us actually in the end too.
So good, in fact, we ended up with like 6 cans each.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect.
Yeah, drank some during at night while we were there, and then took a bunch back home with us. But yeah, so that was pretty exciting. I actually have some fun photos that I'll post right here, time in the video, and I'll show you the fun wall we took a picture in front of. And yeah, that was a great time. And then we made it back to our Airbnb at like it was like midnight, I think. And
pizza in hand.
Pizza we got. Yeah, Drew, you tell the pizza story.
The best part of the night, it was incredible. So we were hankering for some food after some brewskis, as young boys and old boys do when they have some beers. And so we were walking, and we had passed this place prior to right before the Taco Bell called Mogi Meat, and we were this close from going there until we saw a pizza place called Stoners that were open. We're like, well, the pizza place called Stoners has to do like pizza. It's got to be good. So we rolled in there, and by God, did they have the best pizza and bread. If you're in London, Ontario, and you're gonna go to another tournament here at so now the game store slipped my mind. What point is you're gonna go to the tournament in London, Ontario. You got to go to like Stoner's Pizza because it was the best breadsticks I've ever had in my life. Even the ranch slapped. The ranch was like, I hate ranch. I still ate it. Like
yeah, all the pizza, the whole thing. The cheese bread was just insane. It was way too overpowered. The 5 cheese bread.
It was overpowered. It was much like Kingdom of Aquitaine.
I want to say it was Gamer's Refuge or Gamer's. I want to say Gamer's Sanctuary, but it's not that. The Game Chamber. That's what it's called.
Chamber.
The Game Chamber. Yeah. So we smashed some pizza around midnight. Went to bed. Got like nice 6-7 hours of sleep, which is pretty generous, I think, the night before tournament.
Definitely.
And then woke up. Had a easy breezy 3-minute walk to the game store, and got signed in. And I think immediately the class of Drew Austin and just the Canadian scene started to show itself because they did have a tournament pack, and it was beautifully detailed. I actually forgot to bring a list, and they provided us 2 copies of lists, which is, again, extremely generous. They had like
And not just like the army builder, or the new recruit copies either. They recreated all the armies in Army Builder and gave you the full rules printout of each army. Plus the scenario pack, plus the map pack, plus everything you need. It was immense.
And one of my favorite things is they had a projector on the wall with all the new recruit matchups. So you could see your table, you could see who you were playing against. Like, it was like huge up on the wall. It was awesome, and they did that every round. So every round you could see like, oh, okay, I'm on table 4. Okay, I'm playing against. Oh, dang it, I'm playing against Whiskey and a Prayer, Andrew Wheaties. Okay, whatever. And then, you just go have the game. You just smash it off, get a nice win, and then walk away and, go to your round 5. But it was so excellent to see how they had that, like, up there. I mean, they even had, like, your little ticket for best painted, like, attached to your packet, too. And it was, like, super easy to peel that off, put it in, the person you voted for, and carry on with your day. And the store itself was super cool, too.
Yeah, the store itself is kind of what sold me. So I like, you could go to a tournament, right, like in a hotel. Like, for example, we've hosted Michigan GT in the past at in the Lansing Convention Center. We've been to tournaments, whether it's Hogfest, Strength in Numbers, Ken Duncan's tournament out in North American Team Championships. You name it. Like, if the venue of a place kind of gives it, like, your tournament, I want to say it's like emotional appeal, but like it gives it like the energy of your tournament, right? Because if you go somewhere, I want to say it's sterile, but you go to a hotel,
the resonance.
Ooh, I love that. That's a bonus word today. So yeah, for me, I personally like playing tournaments more in 1, hobby stores, and 2, like, unique venues. I remember there was a tournament that I think Mintz and Mark held in Pennsylvania. We didn't go, but it was like during COVID or right after COVID. It was like outside. I heard like Bing mention, one of the New York guys, loved it. Fantastic, because it was outdoors. It was a different venue, right? We used to do gaming days at Brian's. We do 3 games in a day. It was the Baron's Barn,
yep,
right?
the
So
Baron's Barn.
Like, the TVs, the alcohol, whatever else you want, your flags and stuff, and everybody's got. It's just like it has like that spirit that resonates with you, right? And a lot of times, like, don't get me wrong, like, I like conventions and hotels. I like doing them there as well, but sometimes they don't hit as hard, or they don't have that feeling as much as going to a hobby store and being rubbing elbows with all the sweaty Magic guys, just like us. So and that felt like that the Game Chamber brought that. So, because I mean, you had like a open portion where they sold your stuff. It was fully like furnished with carpet. They had like replica weapons on the wall, Magic board games, you name it. Yu-Gi-Oh, and then they even had like a portion where you could purchase food behind the counter for like like and they had a little cutout pub with like fake wood surrounding it. You could get, coffee, whatever else you wanted there, like food, peace tea. Hashtag peace tea. Give that a shout out. That saved me day 1. Oh, those are so good. Bad for you, but good. So yes, the venue was fantastic. It kind of exceeded my expectations, and it reminded me a lot. It reminded me a lot of Critical Hit, in the sense that it gives you that immersion, that vibe where you're playing something, you're doing something fun, and you're doing something unique in a place you wouldn't normally do it. And like Buckeye has that when Buckeye and Jeff used to do it on the stage every year at was at Findlay College. So not a lot of places can have that. So I definitely think that this tournament at the Game Chamber, even though it was at a game hobby store, it kind of grabbed hold of you. It's kind of like, yeah, this is different. This is unique. I like this.
Like you're saying, the space definitely exceeded my expectations. The fact that they were able to host the retail space, have like the space for all the card flopping and for all of the tabletop gamers all at the same time without it ever feeling crowded, was very impressive. It was like never too hot. They always had the air conditioning going on or some kind of fans going on, and the fact that you could get your snacks and stuff all the while you're gaming was very convenient. Well appreciated.
Yeah, I kind of love when like you're in a space like that, and it's like, we're playing 9th Age, we're having a great time, doing our nerd stuff, doing our the thing that gives us we have a lot of fun and enjoying our community. And I think it's even like more fun, like seeing all sorts of other people like doing like the things that they love, and like just seeing like this like community in the London area all playing games, and just like the vibe was so good, and everyone is having like there wasn't any people that were like, I don't know, I didn't run it, it's not like I was looking for dicks or anything like that, but nobody was like mean or rude. It was just like just a really fun and energetic and like exciting place to like just spend time in, which was awesome. And then we played 3 games on day 1.
So yeah, the tournament opponents themselves, they were all great. Ironically enough, one of my goals and one of the reasons why I wanted to play in this Canadian tournament was to play against some new people. Spoiler alert: I did not play against new people. I played against 5 Americans, which was kind of, I don't want to say a downer, but it was a little. It was the only thing that kind of hampered my event experience. But you can't really control Swiss pairings. So my first day, I had Jeff Durham, James Silva, and Jesse Silva, and it's kind of funny because it seems that any tournament I played Jesse, the next round I played James. Any tournament I played James, then I played Jesse. I've never played in a tournament thus far in 9th age and not played both the brothers. So as soon as I played James, I was thinking in my head, you know what? I'm gonna play Jesse. So, and that happened. My first game against Jeff was great. He was playing Warriors, and the Swordmasters just did some work, and I had some spicy dice. Nothing like too, I don't know, and it wasn't any really like big brain plays on my part or his part really or anything I was doing to be to try to get like a win or anything. He was a really good sport. And then who else did I have? Oh, James. Again, James has a battle report of our game. I kind of was a dingus, and I probably could have won the game a couple different times if I just like would have took the objective and ran away. But I wanted to get in there and fight. He did one move with some goblins where he kind of blocked the amount of sword match I could get in combat, which I thought was really cool. So it was like a tactical move that I was like, you got me there, sort of thing, a little bit. And then my game with Jesse, so my first game was a win. My game against James was a draw. And then my game against Jesse, I also got another win. That was also a fun game. That came down to the objective scenario swung. And when I say that I don't read the dwarf book like most people do, spoiler alert, I don't read the dwarf book. And I went in the fight against his he had this big like 40-man spearman or 40 dwarf spear block with like a BSB and a runesmith and like a hold stuff. I don't even know what half that stuff. I just look at it and I go, this is too much. Like, there's too much gobbledygook. I don't even want to fight it. But there came a time in our game where I could have possibly fight it, and I was like, all right, I'll throw my sword masters, my general, and And I gave him some points, and even with those points, I still was able somehow to get a small win out, like 12-8 or something with the objective. But I learned real quick that you're better off just leaving that block alone, taking out the rest of the army, kind of like I did. Otherwise, that thing was eat you alive. So that was my first 3 games, and then I'll let you cover our game, Charles, and then my last game against Todd was game 5. Another Michigan guy. Todd is a great dude. His champion on what do they call it? Chosen, like the Chosen Knights. They're the old juggernauts.
Karkadon.
Chosen Knights, right? Karkadon. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. That guy was nuts, mental, insane. Like, it turns off your weapons, goes in with like 6 attacks, and
it's weapons and armor and payments.
Yeah, it just went in there and just I had a unit of swordmasters go in against with +1. On one turn I had a unit of swordmasters with +1 strength and 19 attacks and did like 3 wounds to a unit, which was just a unit of chosen knights, which was like strength 6 against 1+ armor. You think. And you think I'm hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. I didn't do anything. I did 3 wounds, you saved them. And then the next round of combat, I'm like, all right, I'll do the opposite. I'll buff my guys, give my guys Aegis saves and whatever else, and I'll try to kill him. And I rolled like, out of my 19 attacks, I rolled, I think, like 8 1s. And then I had, out of my 11 remaining wounds, I was wounding on 3s. I had 3 wounds. And again, he like saved them all. So we killed both my Swordmaster units. I did enough damage, though, that eventually at the end of the game, I was able to tree trunk his remaining characters off, which won me the objective at the end. And again, it was another great game. Came down right to the wire, and all my wins this weekend were pretty small wins. They're all from that like 12, 13 kind of point range. I think maybe I had 118 there somewhere in the mix. But overall, for just playing only American guys, like, I was disappointing, but I had 5 really good games. It was probably the best tournament experience I've had since pre-COVID.
Alrighty, so round 1, I played against Michigan local Mike Smith. He brought Demon Legions to Forest City Fracas, And fortunately, I suffered some really unfortunate rolls with just some early leadership tests and some charges. He had brought a Scourge and a Miser list with a whole bunch of shooting and core, and a Hope Harvester with shooting. So I had to get in combat as quickly as possible, and it just didn't work out for me. So I surrendered 18 points to him and brought 2 to myself. And because Drew did so well in the first round, it meant that I got to face Jeff Durham in round 2. And it meant that also I suffered the same fate as my first game, where if I can't make those charges, it just allows him to roll right over me, and that's exactly what happened. Going into round 3, however, I got to play against something new. I played against the new Kingdom of Aquitaine book, Andrew Bones' Kingdom of Aquitaine. He ran a Lord on a Charger, Pegasus, and a whole unit of them. He had a couple of Damsel and some Feudal Knights. He was running the new Knights Penitent, a couple units of the new Men-at-Arms with some Reliquary and a Trebuchet, kind of emblematic of the whole Kingdom of Aquitaine theme. And we just kind of had a really back and forth kind of game. I did get one really lucky moment with him where he suffered a short overrun, and I was able to get a flank charge into his big Pegasus unit and grab his Lord and all the Pegasus with an overrun. So that was a big swing in my direction, so I was able to pull 12 points off of that game. But his shooting took off a lot of my army as well. Those accurate bowmen are not to be messed with.
Best unit in the entire 9th Age right now.
In round 4, I got to play against Justin Kane's Vampire Counts, and Charles, you also got to play against him, right?
I also got to play against Mr. Justin Kane, yes.
Yes, and he ran a Vampire Counts list featuring the Colossal Zombie Dragon, a whole bunch of really obstinate core, just a bunch of skeletons.
Like 40 block skeletons, yeah.
Yeah, big blocks of skeletons, and the cart to keep them with regeneration, so they never leave. And he had a bunch of raises, so they were always going to be kept around. We had a really bloody back and forth game as well. We traded a whole bunch, and at the end, both of us just had all of our core and all of our characters left. All of our special elements had just been completely eliminated. And we just ended up with a 10-10, because that was I think that was the secure target objective as well, so we weren't able to force each other off round 4. It's really always difficult to shove a Vampire Counts off of an objective.
Oh yeah, especially secure target.
And then in round 5, I got to play against Evan Switzer's Orcs and Goblins. He was running the 4 Skewers, the Wyvern Chief that was super quick. Just a really fun list with gigantic units of common orcs. Yeah, it was a really fun game. I had the benefit of outranging most of his units and got a lucky charge on the left flank that allowed me to just start running from left to right with the Minotaurs, because they didn't really have any kind of opposition in his army. At least not anything on that flank at that point. And the Centaur had gone into the center, and some unfortunate fleeing on his part meant that some of his orcs had been out of position. Because the Jabberwock's Terror had come in handy in the center early in the
game. Yeah, I imagine.
And that was kind of the theme for the tournament, was the Jabberwock turning up in unexpected places for me, and making me want to run 2 of them from now on. So get used to that.
Okay. I mean, Jabberwocks are cool, right? They have a they're kind of getting at that right point price range, right? They're like
they're only
280. Right, that's not that bad at all. A flying monster under 300 is pretty. Are they gigantic?
They are gigantic, so they do suffer a bit from clipped wings.
But I mean, they have a D6 stomp too.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I played Mr. Bob Matichowski in my first game. He had the flying circus highborn elves with 2 griffins, a frost phoenix, and 2 sloops. And I actually went down that game 6-14. Kind of poor deployment, I think, on my part. And then I just feel like I wasn't aggressive enough in the beginning of the game, honestly, to move towards. We were playing King of the Hill, and we basically marked the same piece of terrain, and my shooting didn't really turn up at all. A couple decent, like, well, the best roll was that one of the cannons took the Frost Phoenix down in one shot, but then it came back the next turn. So it's kind of a rough go for the shooting that game. But he played it well too. He moved his flyers really aggressively and was able to get in good position to start threatening my backfield. And he just ignored my Great Khan and the Tribe Star. And then in my second game, I also got to play Mr. Justin Kane. And we had a very interesting game. It was really intense, like from turn one. I made a turn one charge with my Tribe Star, and we just kind of got into it. He countered with his Wing Reapers and killed one of my characters in like the first turn too, which also really kind of changed how I was going to play the rest of the game. And my shooting wasn't doing all that much because it's like VC. I wasn't getting the shots with my cannons I needed on his dragon. And then I finally got a cannon hit, did 3 wounds, and then he like recovered them all in the next turn because his dude's on occultism and has like a necromantic staff, so he can literally raise, and then pentagram of pain. That's what he was able to do, because I had to stop another raise at a different part of the battlefield. But then I got a incredibly cheeky Hand of Heaven off that did 6 strength 7 hits. That did 3 wounds to the dragon, and then a cannonball hit and took the dragon off. And
oh wow,
I know. And then I think at that point, I think we just kind of called it, because it was at that point there really wasn't. He didn't have a whole lot left, and he was like, "All right, that's pretty much it." I mean, it's a 1,250 point character, so yeah. I mean, that's over a quarter of his army, isn't it? Too, because you're only at
yeah, it is. Yeah, how convenient.
That's technically it's 1450 since it's the general
you're
too.
You're a monster, Frisbee. You're literally you're cackling up a storm. You're like, oh, I took off that dragon.
Yeah,
that's what cannons do.
Cannons doing what cannons do. And
there
then
was a lot of cannons at this tournament. Actually, there was what
9
before the tournament started.
9 cannons. Yeah, we did a list review with Neil before we went, and a lot of cannons. Dwarf cannons, ogre cannons, a couple empire cannons. I think that's because there wasn't. We didn't have any ID artillery pieces, but lots of cannons. And then my third game, I also played James Silva, and God, I started off so damn strong in that game. My shooting was like hitting left and right. Like I did 4 wounds to his spider turn 1. I think I did 3 wounds to his Great Green Idol turn 1. Actually, no, I did like 5 wounds to his Great Green Idol turn 1. I almost killed it in like the first turn of shooting, and then I think I even had a Scratapult hit on a partial and kill like 4 of his ferals. So like, man, my turn 1 was awesome. My turn 2, the shooting was just as good. Another 3 wounds to the spider. Spider only had 1 wound left, and it was shaft with some scraplings on Discipline 9 with a reroll. And just like a really solid positioning. I killed the Great Green Idol, put some wounds on the giant. Like everything was pretty far away in zone. And then he called out the warg and made a like a 17-inch charge or something like that, with his feral block into my Tribe Star with just the Thaumaturgy Shaman in it, and he just blew through it in 1 round. Actually, he had the giant make it like a 15-inch charge or something like that. It needed like a 9, I think. Or no, that would also be like a 16-inch charge. Something far again. He, need like a 9 on the dice. And he just blew through my center, and I kind of recovered some points. I got rid of the spider, and I almost got his wyvern too. My cannon hit, wounded, and he made a 5-up Aegis save. Otherwise, I mean, I hit the roll of 3-up to kill the wyvern in 1 shot, but I mean it's pretty likely to happen if that went through. But I went down that game. I want to say I kept 4 points. I think James got a 16. That sounds about right. Yeah. And then I got to play Mr. Andre Wheaties.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's kind of a bummer too because Drew, you're speaking how whenever you play James, you play Jesse, and whenever you play Jesse, you play James. I actually was in line to play Jesse, and I was not looking forward to having to shoot off with dwarves. And then unfortunately, due to
I was looking to play a Canadian
yep,
player. I was gonna play Black
you had the
Wolf.
Canadian highborn matchup, mirror match, but sadly due to some family circumstances, Jesse and James had to head back to Chicago that Saturday night. So that was a little bit sad seeing them go, but very understandable for why they went home. And then I ended up playing Drew here, and I slow played his ass, and only got through like 4 turns. And what did I get? Like 15 points, 16 points, 15 points, right?
You got somewhere between 14 and 16. I think you got 16.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think you had that tough turn where like the Tribe Star was going to charge something, and he kind of did some fleas, and I was able to catch one of the fleeing sword masters, which just put me in a good position. And I feel like we were kind of moving kind of fast, trying to play through some stuff, and probably like played too fast because I think you were thinking about using your binding scroll, and then you kind of kept it, and then I pyromancied off some like your whole mage bunker in that one go, which was like just
if I
hot dice on my part.
If I used my binding scroll then and like realizing how many turns we had left, that probably would have been better. But I didn't really. I think the biggest two mistakes of that game I did is I set the one objective, because it was secure target, right?
Yep, it was secure
I set
target.
the one objective. Well, it wasn't a mistake, but it was more so a mistake in like your, I don't know what you call it, like a flow chart, right? Like I can set the objective really far away from you and force your shooting army to like try to shoot through the building, but then I've got to deploy everything on the left hand side of the map and just say the objective's going to be drawn. I can't just set like the objective on the other side of the board and then just put like one unit over there and then try to go after all your points and take the objective on the right side and just let a unit of what 20
nobblers sitting over there.
Nobblers. I mean, like maybe if I had like another,
scrapplings.
3 turns, I was pumping in like the scrapplings. I was pumping the repeater bolt thrower shots into them. Like I could have maybe got to that objective or something, or if we had 3 more turns, we could have played that one other objective a little better. But I was just kind of like, I just we didn't really have like a sense of like time urgency, like when something needed to happen, when it didn't need to happen, what I needed to do with the amount of like models and the way like how the objective was going to play out. I think the biggest thing in that entire game was that one Reaver I had that was I used 5 Reavers. I was chaffing 2 of your units, and I think I let like the way I had it lined up or the way you charged out, you had it where the guy left 1 Reaver.
Two Reavers.
Well, it ended up being 1 model. It was in a fleet. It fleet in front of my guy.
Yeah.
Or fleet in front of my unit, which blocked my charge. And I think if that like hadn't happened, I was able to charge that unit. I probably would have used my sword masters differently. But them's the breaks. I mean, I could just held with my sword masters. We could have fought and had fun and been like, let's do this. But,
yeah.
I mean, how many impact hits did you have? Like 5d3 plus 1.
I would have had at least 3d3 plus 1 characters. And then I would have had a 4 from the unit, and then if the BSB made it in, would have been another D3.
The BSB would have made it when he rolled. Yeah, so like.
Oh yeah, he rolled like a 9 or a 10 on that whatever that failed charge. Yeah.
And I put 1 strength buff on 1 sword master unit and 1 regen buff on the other, which I should have put them both on the same unit. Because then if you would have came in with all those impact hits, but I have a 5 up or 4 up regen, I don't care as much because like. I mean, you're going to kill probably 8 Swordmasters, but I'm going to go back at you, and I'm going to...
I also failed to dispel that strength buff with 3 dice to your 2 dice, too, though.
Yeah, true.
So it's like... But yeah, I think if you had double buffed 1, that would have been a lot of work. I would have had to try and force through something, and you could have just, like, bind Flaming Swords to keep your regions, like, there the entire time. So, yeah, I think that could have been a bit harder.
just talking about all these battles just brings me back. Actually, one thing that now sorry, continue.
No, go
We're
ahead.
gonna do one thing we're gonna do one thing we regret at the end of the video. One thing we regret about
Okay,
tournaments is
okay.
maybe about one spell.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought we had a fun game, even if it I had to kind of speed up at the end because we started really slow. And then I played in my last game. I played against another Canadian, Mr. Ben Ritter, with his Dread Elves, and that was he had an awesome list.
It's Ritter, not. I was trying to discover if it was Ritter or Ryder or what his name was.
Oh, it's Ritter. Okay, Ritter.
No, I was asking you. I don't know. I didn't
Oh, I feel like I asked him.
See, we still don't know.
I feel like I asked him. I think Ritter. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, he had this amazing Dread Elf list of all kind of, it was kind of MMU because it was 2 blocks of 20 spears, 18 Judicators, 18 Obsidian Guard, 17 Obsidian Guard, 3 things of 15 Temple, or not Temple Militants, 3 things of Legion Auxiliaries, and then 2 flying squids, and then a handful of characters, whole pretty low armor, but a couple magic characters, couple kind of killy, kind of Achille Prince, and a lot of buff synergies through all sorts of different items on a I'm forgetting I keep wanting to say an Exarch, but he had 2 Exarchs, and then he had the Legate. That's what he is, the Legate. That was his general. And yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, I feel like it was a bad matchup for him because I had a lot of shooting to throw at him. But even like that, he did have some bonuses. I got super lucky my turn 1 and took off a Missile Leviathan that was protecting 3 units. I deployed for turn 1. I pretty much deployed turn 1 every game, I think, except the one against Drew. Because I just lost the roll for the table side. I think my opponent game into the
+1.
Yes, he did. I actually think Ben let me deploy first. It was because it was marching column. No, marching column is against you, Drew. Actually, yeah, it was in circle. I just was like, I'm just gonna plop and see what I can shoot. Basically, it's game 5, and he had a nice, really solid counter deployment where he was able to make sure everything was within 8 inches. He kind of had was kind of using his flanks as aggressively as he could. Because I took the big middle, of course, because it's just kind of better and in circle. And I just got super lucky. The cannons took off one of the Missile Leviathans turn 1. And then I was able to start doing some shooting. And it wasn't crazy or anything, but I got some good hits, and some Bombardiers did some wounds. Otherwise, it probably would have been half as much damage. Just a hard target on those infantry. And but even so, I feel like it was slog to shoot so many. It's weird. Even with all the shooting I had, there was just so many small units, small medius units, that it was if this unit makes it in, it's gonna kick the crap out of these bombardiers, or it's gonna kick the crap out of this. It's probably gonna kill this Scratapult. It's this cannon's not gonna win this fight. I had to do a lot of fleeing. I had to do a lot of careful positioning. I was doing a lot of backing up, and then I had a lot of things that fled that never rallied, even though they were in my bubbles. Just I had a Scratapult within general range and BSB range, and I just rolled 2 10 pluses, and it just was see ya, and just went off the board. And then it kind of came down. The biggest thing that came down to was, and we had wonky dice on both sides too, just him making random armor saves at weird times, or me just getting a bunch of hits with Bombardiers, but then rolling 4 hits and 2 wounds or something like that. Getting 15 hits on 5s. Oh, 3 hits. Okay, 1 wound, something like that. But he had I had trapped a rune and lured some weakened Obsidian Guard unit and some Judicators. Judicators had a mediumish charge that they made. I was kind of okay with. Um, and then it ended up kind of going poorly because something else held that could have like kind of had a bad cascading effect. But on the overrun of the adjudicators, he went like 3 inches, and it put him in this terrible spot, or terribly good spot for me, where I was able to move 2 units of bombardiers up and just blast off all the adjudicators. And he just had 2 characters alive, and those characters just like backed up because they were essentially naked. Um, they put like literally nothing on. Like a standing shoot probably could have like killed them. I mean, I think the Temple Exarch was just heavy armor, which is the standard kit. So I think I ended up winning that game like a 15 or a 16 to finish out my tournament.
Nice. So what was your overall record?
I was 6th place. It was one.
What was your record? You went 3 or 2 and 5 and 8 or whatever you were. I don't even know.
I went 3 and 2. Yep. For three like pretty big wins, and then 2 like pretty like smaller losses, like 4 and 6.
What about you, Alex?
I ended up with 40 points overall with 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw.
Not too bad. I was kind of similar to you, Alex, where I don't even know what place I ended up. I think I ended up 1 behind you, Chuck, or 2 behind you. And
Yeah, you're close.
I ended up going 3, 1 and 1. So.
Mm-hmm. But before we had our final games on day 2, we had some well-deserved beer at Anderson's, which is another brew pub in Ontario that we highly recommend. And this was the one that the border crossing agent recommended over the London Co-op, which we couldn't believe when we had the London Co-op. We were drinking the London Co-op beer, and we're like, how can
it be better? Yeah.
Anderson's be better? This beer is excellent. And the only thing that I would say set Anderson's just slightly higher was their food was insanely good.
Burger was off the chain.
I don't think I've ever been so stuffed at like between like all the beer and like this excellent food. Like I was full to the brim.
Food baby.
Yeah.
Literal food baby.
Yes.
Not like Chipotle. You know how you go to Chipotle, you get like one of those like burritos that are like the size of like this Yeti thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're snacking on it. You're like, oh, I got a food baby. No, like that times 2, like that squared.
Yes.
I'm not even a math wizard. Mm-hmm. I know, like I had twins.
Mm-hmm. The chips and like salsa queso. The what kind of poutine fries were it? It was kimchi poutine fries, right?
Yeah, it was like
I think that's
kimchi slog, like poutine, with bacon, jam.
Oh, it was wild. It was good. It was a lot of weird, or kind of like different umami flavors mixed together, but it was really nice.
Can recommend Anderson's.
Yeah, absolutely. And we finished out that Saturday evening too with a little Jurassic World Dominion, which was A1, right, boys?
I learned what a pyroraptor was.
Yeah.
It doesn't spit fire.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it inside the lab, though. So in Ancient Lab, you missed out on the pyroraptor.
Missed out on the pyroraptor. And but we also watched Rings of Power, which Alex hadn't seen the first 2 episodes, but was pretty much fully caught up in that 3rd episode.
Absolutely. Mystical space hobo.
Because that's pretty much all you needed to know about. Yeah. And then we wrapped up the tournament. Mr. Andrew Ratman won the whole tournament, like a lucky guy that he is. With his hot dice.
In the ever-immortal words of Michael Smith, the guy just bandwagons the best army and wins. Andrew Ratman does.
Yep. I mean, hey.
No, Andrew's a great player, and he fully deserved it.
And it's a winning strategy.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, great guy, sweet cuddly bear. We love him, and wish him the best. And because I wanted to say there was like a best overall, a 2nd place, a 3rd place, right? And then there was a couple door prizes, and then best sports, and then the wooden spoon. Did Mike Maddox get 2nd place? No.
What?
John Oakes.
John Oakes got second place because Andrew Ratman and him played, and then Mike came in third, like just 2 points behind John Oakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was KOE first, Dwarf in second, Demon Legions in third. And yours truly got one of the Doors prizes, which was pretty slick. Picked up a nice new box of ogres to probably finish off the army. And
you need to start playing the lottery, Chuck. Every time we go to one of these things, if there's like a door prize, like a raffle, you always win something. It doesn't fail.
No, I have some pretty damn good luck with some of that stuff.
I have terrible luck when it comes to raffles. Like,
yeah.
Even when I was like a little kid, I would be like, "Oh, who's gonna get the lollipop?" Not me. I'm never winning that.
Yeah, like I can think of a whole lot of miniatures that I've just gotten for free. Like I remember back in like I think it was like 2017, 2018. I really needed some more light infantry for my Empire army, and I feel like they were like it was kind of hard to find them. Like like I was looking for specifically some of the GW kinds, and they were like weren't in production. I went to Siege at the Tower, and I walked away with an Empire Battalion box, which is
provided for.
And it's just like, oh, great! I needed these 10 more guys. Perfect. Now I can make some crossbows. It was just like, oh yeah. And I've had a lot of other occasions where it's just like, oh, sweet battalion box. That's cool. So very, very fortunate. But shout out to Drew Austin. That guy really ran a solid tournament.
Really excellent.
I mean, just so good. Like every little part of it. Like it was so organized. My biggest like the big thing that gave me like the biggest like okay, this is so well done was how they were switching out. They got the map pack and they had a new map for every game, and they went through every table and set it up for every game.
That's
like so, even if you played at the same table, it wasn't the same train setup. It was all switched up. We're all playing the same map pack. That is so class. Like that is so good. Like because I played on the same table my last 3 games. I played Drew there, I played James there, and I played Ben there. And it was a different setup every time, which was nice because I mean, even if I was playing in the same sort of the game store, I felt like I was still playing different games because sometimes you get stuck on a table at a tournament and you're like, oh, these same damn rooms that are like in the middle of the board, or like, oh, this giant monument that's like a foot long or something like especially you go to like a wonky some tournaments have some wonky terrain that gets on the board and you're like, this is a huge impassable piece of terrain.
Oh, like the 12 like the foot by I remember there's a foot by foot like Adepticon terrain and it's just a pyramid and you're like looking behind it with,
or like a ginormous hill that sits on like the edge of the board and like sticks a foot into the board and you're like, okay, this is a huge hill. So yeah, I think that was that to me. I thought like that just spoke to such a high level of like they were just pouring their hearts into this thing to make it as good as they could for us, and I definitely appreciate it, and it was not unnoticed, I would say. I think I definitely heard other people saying, yeah, that was awesome. Like they were loving that too. And then we just pretty much left Canada right from there, and got home. We actually drove through. We went through the Ambassador Bridge on the way home, so drove through Detroit. Oh my God! But I'm forgetting about Ed's poutine.
How could you?
Oh. Ed's poutine. Oh, Ed's poutine.
It'll live in our hearts until the next time
we
get to enjoy it.
I honestly like. I know we talked about a lot of food, but it's kind of hard to understate how dang good this food was this tournament. Like everything we ate was just like so incredibly delicious.
And this place was just like right off the beaten path. We were walking someplace else, and the food truck just happened to be there waiting for us.
Yep, we were gonna go to Tim Hortons. I think more so to get coffee, and we saw Ed's poutine and said, "No, we're going here." This place looks amazing, and it's just like a little food truck, like on next to a ammo depot or something like that, like a gun supply store, like surplus store, survival surplus store, or something like that.
It's busy though. We were lucky to get in when we did.
Yes, we were. Yep. Yeah, I think you
Just one guy
guys.
running it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was just. I mean, I'm calling him Ed, but yeah, it was just Ed behind the counter, just busting poutine out the window like left and right.
An expert in his craft.
Yeah, so
Expert
good.
in his craft.
hmm And then yeah, made it home, no problems getting back into Michigan. We did a little MVP LVP video that we made a YouTube short out of. Which I don't know if people noticed, but I was making YouTube shorts because I thought it sounded fun, and they're really easy to make and post onto YouTube. And but I've had a little bit of time to look at my list after the tournament, and I feel like I need to run ogres again, or I don't know if I need to. I want to run ogres because I'm building a display board I want to finish up before October for the next GT we're going to run in Michigan, which we'll do a little shout at the end. But I don't know if I really want to run the gun line again. I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth about it. I think the thing I was most impressed with was the pyromancy. Actually, I thought the pyromancy was very solid. I don't know. I feel like it was the magic I was using the most the entire tournament.
Even though Hand of Heaven did work that one game against, was it Zombie Dragon? Was it Justin Zombie Dragon?
Yeah, it was tough because I was using Hand of Heaven too. But I mean, it was probably the combination that was really nice because I could go like missile, Hand of Heaven, and it was like really nice to cast like 3 missiles like that. But yeah, it was. I was doing a lot of Hand of Heaven though, or I was doing a lot of Pyromancy, and then Hand of Heaven was probably the next most popular spell I cast.
That's fair. My the biggest thing in my tournament was just crappy dice and like the word. Like I remember against James, my first 2 turns against James, I rolled 5 spells and I rolled like I went to cast Fair Miladies. I rolled like a 2-2-1. I got 1 dice back, and then I rolled my next spell and I rolled like it was like a 2 dice magic missile. It was like the ice and fire magic missile. I rolled 2 dice at it. Thinking, well, I already got like stats says I mean you can always roll like crap, right? That always happens, but
Yep.
like thinking eventually if you thinking like I roll high, I'll roll low next, vice versa, whatever else. I'm like I roll 2 dice at it, so roll 2 dice, roll 2 2s. All right, well there goes those dice. Now we're like even, and I take 3 dice. I'm like, well I'm gonna throw 3 dice at I can't remember what the spell was.
Union Divergence.
Yeah, it was either Unity. No, it was a spell that was cheaper cast. It might have been Unity Divergence. It might have been that. I don't remember exactly, but it was something that like on 3 dice I had like a 90% success rate to go off on, and then I rolled 2 2s and a 1, so I got 1 dice back, and then I had 3 dice, and I rolled those 3 dice, and I failed to get the regen like on a 6. I rolled like 2 1s and a 2. So then I got 2 dice back, and my last 2 dice I threw them at a strength spell, and I rolled 2 1s. And I just said, "Fuck it, I'm done with this phase," and then went to the next phase because he had 5 dice left. And then the
Yeah.
next phase, I did the same thing at Favorite Miladies. I threw like 3 dice at it again. Even in our game with you, Chuck, I would throw 3 dice
Yeah.
at
You
Favorite
failed it
Miladies,
once.
and
Yeah.
I failed it like all 3 turns I threw out to start. I only got it off the one time I got it off on 3 dice. I think it was like maybe I got it off like on
Or
turn 1,
you
but
gotta,
turns I
yeah,
failed
you
it.
got it off on turn one, and then you failed it twice, which is just like so big for me not having to even think about dispelling it.
Throw dice at, yeah, and like you should get if you're throwing 3 dice at it and you need a 9+ on the dice, like that's like a 80% success. I don't know exact numbers. It's between like 70 and 85 from what I
Well, you only
remember,
need an
but
8,
it's
isn't
higher
it, on
than
the
that.
master?
Well, it's a 9. Oh, yeah, technically, so my 10 goes down to a 9, and then need 8. Yeah, so you need 8 on 3 dice. Like for as much as I failed that spell this entire tournament, that spell. Thinking back about it now, that spell was LVP this tournament. It did like
Mm,
diddly squat, and that's the spell you're supposed to threaten the most with. The strategy behind having 2 big 24 Swordmaster man blocks,
yep.
elf blocks, I should say, because it covers both blocks from damage. So it's
Mm,
like, okay, I can shoot one, or I can match the other one, and can get rid of some tokens and save some bodies. So at least you get into combat with like 20, or upper teens, like 18, 19 of them in combat and do some work, but not getting that spell off, or at least more so not forcing your opponent to use dice to stop it, so then you can get like the regen or the ward save off on, excuse me, the Aegis save off on the block that needs it, really kind of like hampered to kill my magic phase. The Master Canary Tower guy was great. I was throwing like 3 dice or 2 dice here or there at some stuff, hedging my bet like, oh, I need 5 to get Awaken the Beast off on this spell, throw 2 dice at it. It should go off, right? And it was going off, but like when like the key like pivotal plan in your magic doesn't work, it makes me kind of go back and listen, like you were saying,
mm-hmm.
that maybe I should, go back to what I was doing against Maxwell and you guys earlier. I was running like one Sword Master block, one Flame Warden block, so I don't have to worry about casting, Favorite Miladies every turn, and or maybe add like the Book of Miladies on like my main caster, so I can just not lose to crap dice,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
not lose, but not miss out on what I need for my list of work.
Mm-hmm. Do you know any thoughts about your list?
I learned that my Jabberwocks have been vastly underestimated and that I just need to start cutting scoring units left and right. Just take more fun toys.
Yeah.
Bring back Minotaurs and Spear blocks, Alex. Bring that back.
Actually, for the first time in a Moon's Age, I actually put my Minotaur into my unit of mongrels against the vampire player.
Yo.
Let's go! That's so sick.
I had to run the Minotaurs independent and had to give the Warlord a launch pad so that he could pick him out with the vampire dragon.
That almost makes me think you should just run a banner of speed on the mongrels too.
I need them to be stronger. I need them to pull their weight so they
Yeah,
can actually
the
win
strength for
against
mongrels
sometimes.
is quite dangerous with
Gives them some
spears.
potential to punch up against some more expensive things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be playing warriors anyway. Who plays beastmen anymore?
Yeah, let's go.
Beastmen are the best army in the game right now, Alex. Are you bandwagon jumping into a crappy army like warriors? You're such a nice guy.
Such a nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Such a nice guy. That's what they say about him. Well, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for me that just I feel like didn't really ever turn up that much was probably the Scratapults were underwhelming the entire weekend.
Yeah.
I mean,
No
like, yeah, it's tempting to say no more shooting. I think the biggest thing I actually missed out on was I feel like, and maybe I think it's probably also the way I built my core, where I had only one kind of big solid block of ogres. I probably needed like two medium-ish ones, because I feel like I had a strong center, and I feel like I just had these extremely weak flanks that are like, if anything even slightly threatening was on them, and I couldn't shoot it off. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna lose stuff. Like, things are gonna have to start fleeing, and if they go too far or like they don't rally, like, I'm not gonna get them back. And it's kind of what happened a few of the games where I feel like I lost. Was just like, it's surprising that was what didn't happen against James. James just shot up the middle on like this extremely long charge.
Yeah.
And exploded my Tribe Star with his Feral, which is a unit that should beat the Tribe Star, is Feral Biggins, with paired weapons. But yeah, that was kind of funny and weird in that it was like, yeah, that was the one game where I was kind of worried about my flanks more so, but they didn't end up being the problem. It was the center that crumbled. So I don't know. You kind of can't win them all, right?
You just hedge your bets in a tournament, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You build those skew lists, as the sexual dynasty O'Brien Jennings says. You run a skew list and you win tournaments, and you be a great guy.
Yep. Well, I don't think I got anything else to comment on other than Forest City Fracas was awesome.
Absolutely.
Forest City Fracas was awesome. And
look forward to the next event in Canada.
Oh, yes. But also, Drew, you want to give a little shout out for our event coming up in Michigan?
T-minus when this laptop gets charged and I go back upstairs. Look out for Michigan GT. I keep saying Michigan GT. Nix that. It's not Michigan GT. It's
Motor City
Madness,
GT. Motor City Madness GT.
By Michigan 9th Age Club. Motor City Madness GT, October 15th and 16th in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Hosted by our lovely friend Eric, one of the Bastion gaming managers. He got us entire big room, and I will probably set up even possibly a streaming camera for table one, which will probably be in that front little area where they have the promotional stuff. And I might even stream it to YouTube. I might do a little announcing or something. I don't know if I can pull up OBS and do the John Madden. Well, right here's a knight, and he's going to charge right here. So we'll see. But yeah, come out to that. We're looking. We want to get a solid showing. I mean, it doesn't need to be 40, 50 people, but it would be nice to see some Midwest turnout. It's gonna be $35 a person. The big difference of this tournament, though, is our 5 games we're going to be doing are going to be mostly out. Everything but one scenario, I believe, is going to be out of the objective scenario, the additional objective scenarios.
Scenario
So not going to be from the
supplement.
main rule. There you go. Thank you. Scenario supplements. They're not going to be from the 5 normal scenarios, maybe from the scenario supplement. And I try to choose ones that were harken back to some old editions. One, for example, is like the table quarters. We have like 4 table quarters, and you have to take those, and they're worth different points. I have another one where it's like a meteor, where it's like spoils of war kind of, but before the game starts, like the meteors move, and then you get points if you like different points if you have Veil Token. You'll see in the pack. So just stay tuned. That's gonna be posted up a new recruit here shortly when the laptop's up, and as well as the pack. So
Can I look forward to a watchtower scenario?
no
Oh my
watchtower.
god.
I mean, we
No.
should
No.
bring that back.
Oh
There is a
no.
scenario. No,
Disappoint
there is a
me.
scenario inside the scenario supplement. That's called like the gazing eye, and I think it's similar to like Sauron's eye,
Yeah.
looking at your
I'm sorry
units.
I put it in his
I should
brain.
bring that back. Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we do
Gosh.
bring that back. I was deleted
Watchtower.
really quick.
What have I done?
Oh no.
No, we're not doing that. That's
Oh,
terrible.
let me just bring my folding fortress out.
Let me just quick reform turn 1. Walk into the building. Response. Oh, you don't. Oh, you don't have any. Okay, sounds good.
Oh, I put my stubborn block in here? Oh, okay.
Oh, you just cast doors below, and everybody inside the watchtower, they all take the test. Or you put a, was it like, oh, I'm gonna put a template on there. Only does D6, no big deal. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. War Machines had really weird hits against buildings, didn't they?
oh, it was terrible.
Like,
Yeah.
it was like a cannon hits and it's like, alright, you can do D6 hits. Like,
That's
You're
what
like,
you pick out of the building.
like that's actually the one thing that the cannon should excel at destroying, right? Is
it's
like
a building. You walk in.
fortifications, right? Like, but yeah, it's fantasy gaming, right? Tabletop. Well, Drew and Alex, thank you for joining me for this chat, and appreciate being able to go on this awesome trip with you guys.
Anytime. I look forward to the next one.
Evershade family, deuces.